Hi, I'm professional sports handicapper Ross Benjamin of RB Wins Inc. Time for another edition of my NFL regular season win totals. Today we're going to be covering the Carolina Panthers. It's part 15 of a 32-part series in which I'm covering each NFL team, looking at the regular season win totals odds, and then making a prediction at the end of each video. Let's get right to the Carolina Panthers, as their regular season win total right now is 5.5, and to go over that total of 5.5, it comes at money line odds of minus 120. And to go under the total of 5.5, it's at money line odds of plus 100. Last year, the Panthers went 5-11 and finished dead last in the NFC South. It resulted in Ron Rivera being relieved of his duties after a 5-7 start, and then the Panthers proceeded to go 0-4 the rest of the way to get to their final mark of 5-11. They hired Matt Rule during the offseason to become their new head coach. It'll be Rule's first NFL head coaching assignment, as he was the former coach as recently as last year of the Baylor Bears, who almost made it to the college football 14 playoff, losing that heartbreaker in the Big 12 championship game to Oklahoma. And Rule also turned the program around at Temple as well. So he comes with a track record on the collegiate level of being able to take some downtrodden programs and bringing them up to national prominence. So we'll see if he can do it at the NFL level. He'll have his hands full, but he did make his mark known immediately, as the Panthers drafted 7 players on the defensive side of the ball in this past 2020 draft, and rightfully so. If you look at the Panthers' statistics defensively last year, not very good. They did finish 31st in scoring defense at 29.4 points per game. Only one team was worse than them in the entire NFL. They also were 29th against the run, allowing 143.5 yards per contest. On a positive note, they were number 1 in the NFL in sacks with 53. However, they lost both Vernon Butler and Mario Addison in free agency during this offseason, I should say. Both signed with the Buffalo Bills. Those 2 players accounted for 15.5 sacks a season ago. Addison in particular is a big loss, as he's amassed 39 sacks over the last 4 seasons. So they're going to be hard to be replaced, especially Mario Addison. Offensively, the Panthers opted to sign free agent quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, who was with the New Orleans Saints a season ago, and he filled in quite admirably for an injured Drew Brees, and he was played in 7 games last year, threw 9 touchdown passes against 2 interceptions, and the Saints, I believe, went unbeaten during the starts. If not, they lost 1 game at the very most. I can't recollect exactly, but it's somewhere in that area. Let's put it this way. They didn't lose any traction with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. However, keep in mind, Bridgewater has never had more than 14 touchdown passes in an entire NFL season. He did succeed with Minnesota early on, led them to the playoffs, and then he suffered that brutal knee injury during the during training camp with the Minnesota Vikings that pretty much forced them to miss 2 entire years. He did get 1 start at the end of the second year with Minnesota, but in any event, wide receiver position for Carolina, they're going to be led by DJ Moore, coming off a terrific year last year in which he caught 87 balls for 1,175 yards and 4 touchdowns. They also made several free agent signings at the wide receiver position. Robbie Anderson comes over from the New York Jets, and he's a deep threat. And Seth Roberts, the possession wide receiver, who spent last year with the Baltimore Ravens. And then they also brought in Farrell Cooper, who I would estimate is going to be more of an impact player returning kicks than he will be playing wide receiver. And then you have star running back C.J. McCaffrey, 1,387 yards rushing last year. Also caught 116 passes for over 1,000 yards in receiving. Total yards from scrimmage last year, a phenomenal year for McCaffrey, 2,392 yards from scrimmage and 19 touchdowns. The offensive line needs to get better as they allowed a league-high 58 sacks a season ago. And they did trade for veteran offensive tackle Russell Okung, who will be an immediate upgrade on the offensive line, and they need that. The tight end position is filled with unproven players, and they're going to need somebody to step up as a leader there. Their schedule, you look at their schedule, their first 6 games are against non-playoff teams, so they'll have an opportunity to get off to a decent start. And it's the 18th toughest schedule in the NFL when calculating who their opponents were and what their records were a season ago. And this is a team that needs to clean up taking care of the football. Carolina last year was 30th in the NFL in turnover margin at -14. Awful tough to win in the NFL when your turnover margin's that bad, especially when you're climbing an uphill battle here with a team that's rebuilding. So they'll need to clean that up a little bit if they hope to have any kind of decent season. And this is going to be tough for Carolina. New coaching staff, and they come in a year in which the offseason has been marred by COVID-19, the pandemic that's restricted NFL teams from their offseason conditioning programs, their mini camps, their spring practices, and for teams that have a lot of continuity, they're going to be at an advantage. Carolina certainly isn't one of those teams with the new coaching staff, and they're going to be hard-pressed to win 6 games. As a matter of fact, I like them to go under 5.5 wins. My predicted record for them is 3-13, and I like the under 5.5 at -120 money line odds. It's Carolina under 5.5 regular season wins. Until the next time, and we'll be covering another NFL team and the regular season win totals. I'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Stay safe and be responsible, folks.